Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Here to do a collection update. I don't know how long this is gonna take. It's not like it's like a ton, but it's not small. Um, so the most recent, I'll show the vinyl first, and then do the CDs. Unfortunately, it's a lot, but so I showed the in my Squid review. This is the new album from Squid, Cowards. I got. I can show it briefly again. Of course, I got this jacket and stuff I talked about in the review back here. It's a not a gatefold, yeah, but it's like a clear third album from Squid. One of my favorite albums of this year, if not my favorite, but Cowards. But anyway, was not cheap, but I felt it was justified, especially not for a double, because it was going basically directly to the band. I mean, I'm sure the venue itself got a cut, a percentage of it, but yeah, I mean, if it wasn't, I mean, if I was just trying to buy this at certain places, I don't know if I would have spent. It was pretty close to the price of a double, but yeah, it's kind of cool. You get the jacket and stuff, so I don't spend too much time on this. But anyway, Squid Cowards from 2025. Little hype sticker. Third album, Quintet, Clear Vinyl. Yeah, Clear Vinyl. Anyway, I got to put it on my Discogs, which I've been working on. So all right, now I'll get into the record store day stuff, and this is kind of going in reverse order. Yeah. So the last place, I didn't put these in the. Maybe I can switch this. Well, because of the way the CD is. Okay, so the last place we went. This is how many weeks ago? It's like a month ago almost. It's a place down in Burnsville, Minnesota. My wife and I called South Metro Music or something like that. And they've been around like 5, 6 years, but I hadn't heard about them, and they've been participating. But they came out around the same time as Solsta. But we got there late because we were not going to fight the crowd, and I didn't find some of the record store items like the was it the Dada, but I did find a few things though just that weren't record store items. So one is the Willow or Willow Smith new album from last year 2024. Uh I can't remember the title of this sucker. Um Empathogen. Which was in my top 5 or 6 records from last year, and it's great. And they had it. It's kind of interesting. I was talking to the clerk there behind the counter. It's like a table really on Record Store Day. But Willow Smith, of course, this is like her third or fourth. I think it was like her fourth actual album, but totally changed style. This is like progressive jazz pop songwriter that she had working with her, but it's like a brownish kind of thing. It fits kind of the artwork and everything, but colored vinyl. And Pathogen. But yeah, this is the first record like that. But I was talking to him, and I was telling him how this album was compared to Esperanza Spalding, just in a good way in some ways. I mean, big feelings, and what's the other one that was the sort of one of the pop one of the singles. John Batista's on one track, from the late show with Colbert, St. Vincent's, of course, on Pain for Fun. This is like, oh, the track list is like upside down. Between me and she, that between I and she rather. That's not the Big Feeling's my favorite, but yeah, the track list is all weird. Like, yeah, symptom. I think it's Symptom of Life. Yeah, experimental vocally. The piano arrangements are great. So Willow, she's got the very staunch cover or artwork there. But yeah, I got that at Record Store Day. And then the same place at South Metro Music, I think it was just these two. Found a copy of Glass House from Billy Joel, which I bought The Stranger like a year ago, a year and a half. Been looking for that for a while, but some of the other Billy Joel essentials, I'd like to just beyond having like a compilation, which I don't even have that. A lot of people have like compilations because he had, whatever it was, 15 just highly known pop rock hits. But Glass House, this is one of his albums in the late 70s. Actually, it was 1980. But you may be right on this one. Sleep with the television on. I don't want to be alone. I listened to this when I was going through I think it was 1980. I listened to some of this at least for my albums of the year, a little over a year ago, whenever that was. Still rock and roll to me. That's the other sort of pop hit on this, but all for like, it's not. I mean, I paid whatever it was, $5 for this, so that was probably the reason why I was like, oh, for $5, one of the more sort of essential Billy Joel records. Although most of his records are considered sort of required listening. It has one fingerprint on it and a couple of them. So I mean, I can understand why they sold it for $5. Columbia issue. So it's not in like pristine shape, but it plays whenever I ever do play and we move homes and we have a soundproofed place to set up. But here's the jacket, the lyrics, and then you may be right. Um, anyway, so 19. This was like whatever. I don't know. I should probably leave it out of the jacket because it's like easier to access. You get one of those protectors that I've got that I bought my friend Christian recommended, but yeah, I mean it's like besides the Stranger, there's like five or six records from like 1974. I mean Piano Man, of course, that song I've kind of burnt out on all the way through the mid 80s, even through yeah like Stormfront. I know his River of Dreams isn't as essential, but anyway, I mean my wife has one of his later albums, the one that's going to extremes, but that one has a lot of kind of more saccharine like tracks. But anyway, so then the other record I got there, yeah, was I found for $8. Again, part of it is we were never been there, and I felt like I wanted to buy something, and I found the Willow record toward the end. I couldn't find the record store stuff and stuff my wife was looking for, but so I saw this record for $8. It's one of the Supertramp. I have, I don't think I have any of the studio albums. Maybe Breakfast in America. That would be it. I have some compilations on disc of Supertramps. I always liked them, but so even in the quietest moments, this is one of their better records. Crime of the Century, which I was trying to remember, couldn't remember the other day, um, is my favorite. But this is the album that has Babaji. Oh, that's right, which is just a banger. It's a top five Supertramp track for me. I mean, along with Logical Song and one or two others. I love Babaji. So yeah, this is maybe my set ever going through their catalog, and I haven't listened to that record that was somewhat well received from the '80s yet. I got around to it when I was doing the albums of the year, but um, this was probably my second favorite, maybe third favorite. Maybe I'd go Crime of the Century, Breakfast in America, and then this. But they don't have that many records, so most of their records are just considered essential. But um, this has Give a Little Bit, which was a pop hit, but like Fool's Overture, they were doing it's progressive pop Supertramp. I know Scott, the Prog Corner, is going to be doing a progressive pop or art rock, art pop special on Sunday on his live stream. So, but yeah, this came out in it was like 70. It was before Breakfast in America. I can't remember if it was the one right before that or two albums before that. I want to say it was 77 or 78. Because like Crime of the Century, I think was 74. So it was between that. It was after Crime of the Century. It doesn't have the year on here. This is an A&M pressing. No, this is 77. Okay, so there may be one record because Breakfast in America was 78 or 79. So I think it was the one before it, but I'll correct myself later, of course. But Supertramps, even in the quietest moments. So I don't know, like 10cc, and like XTC, maybe even ELO and Steely Dan at some point. I'd like to get sort of the essentials, but again, I don't want to get too many records because it's just don't have space here, and it's like listen to them, and it's like just buying them for the sake of collecting them and possessing them, having them in my collection, but value. So all right, we before that we went to it's a long story, but I'm not going to get into all the details. We ended up going to Target and getting some stuff my wife wanted, but we had gone to Agarda Records second after originally going to Cheapo. But here's the stuff I got at Agarda. We went there again late. It was like 11 o'clock. It was like way after the doors had opened. It was still crowded though. There were probably at least 30 or 40 people in there. So we were in there probably for all of 15 minutes. But I did find a copy. That looked in the rush. I've needed a copy of All the World's a Stage, which is the last of the essential Rush stuff, the beginning all the way through Presto for the most part, but I still need the '90s, some of the '90s and 2000s albums. But this is the last like main live album I didn't have and this is an older pressing, but All the World's a Stage from um, the double. It's one show I believe, as opposed to Action Stage Left and definitely Show of Hands, which were taken from multiple shows, but Gateful, big Gateful with all the photos, peak early Rush. They do all of 2112 except a little crease on the case, unfortunately. I don't know if this probably isn't the first press. It's a Mercury pressing, but they all do all 2112 other than the Dream section, which is the best part. But this is yeah, like I said, Mercury pressing. I'll have to look this up on Discogs, but I mean, it's a classic live album. I've always kind of preferred Exit Stage Left a little bit, and I've always had a soft spot for Show of Hands, but I know a lot of people love this. It's cool, like John Petrucci and Getty himself prefer this one. It's got Bastille Day, What You're Doing, which I kind of always have felt like it's one of not my favorite songs on. It's always been one of my favorite songs on the self-titled. Even though again it's like blues rock, but other disc right here quickly to open that up and show that. Um, just their standard black, but yeah, the 2112 stuff on that, and of course, this was released after 2112 and the 2112 tour. In the end, by Turn the Snow Dog, of course, which by Turn the Snow Dog live is, you know, has a somewhat of a life of its own. It was kind of an essential, a staple live for several years. And it was the first sort of prog-ish track they ever did, really multi-part piece. You could say I like Working Man was kind of proggy too, but what did I just notice? Yeah, I mean the jacket on this thing is not in perfect shape, but it's yeah, like this part right here I've got crease there. So it's it's whatever, probably like a C plus condition quality, but again, more importantly that I've been looking for it for a long time, and as a Rush, lifer fan for the most part, fan for 30 plus years, I kind of needed it in my collection to have, so. All right, so I got this there, and then the next two records I think were the ones I found there. Yeah. I did decide to take the plunge on the Grays, which I was kind of swearing it off and saying, this is I believe that this is Roger. Is it Roger and a couple of the Jellyfish guys? Well, of course, I think of that song, something years, the very best years, the first track. Album came out in like 94, 95, 94. And the Jellyfish stuff, it's weird. This is a double, this is thick pressings. I don't know how long of a record this is, but this is the only Record Store Day item for 2025 Record Store Day I got. Um, uh, it doesn't say, yeah, different labels, red and yellow. I listened to this album 4, 5, 6 times tops. I think I listened to it in the store. Maybe saw the CD, or Port and I talked about it many years after I'd heard it once or twice, and I gave it another go, and it still was struggling with it. Um, like the personnel here, maybe on the back here. Okay. Just because the Jellyfish personnel, it's Jason Faulkner, John Bryan, so it's not Roger Manning. So this is Jason Faulkner, and that makes some sense because he wasn't obviously on Spilt Milk, that came out the year before. John Bryan, from my knowledge, was either like part of Jellyfish during the period, but I don't know how much. Like did some of the songwriting. People don't think of John Bryan as much for his work with Jellyfish. They know him as a solo artist. And he's produced people, but this. So it's those two Jellyfish members with Buddy Judge and Dan McCarroll. Buddy Judge is the vocalist. John Bryan does. They had three guys who, and of course, this was probably, yeah, this would have been before Jason Faulkner's debut album, which I have on CD. But I don't know. It's weird how with Jellyfish, I love their two records, and every single thing, even Roger Manning's best stuff and the Licorice Quartet stuff, has never fully compared, and almost to the point where I felt like I want to and should like a lot of this stuff more than I ever have. But I love Jellyfish so much, and admittedly, when I first heard Jellyfish, I didn't get into them as much. Part of it is Andy Sturmer's vocals, but a big part of that is. But I just kind of went on buying this. I said, all right, it's Record Store Day, even though the budget's tight and everything, the economy was BS and everything. I'll get this. I wanted the Dada, and this was kind of like my second choice. I couldn't get the Dada, I'll just buy this. So I got the Grays, Rochambeau, the only album they did. I know people love it. Maybe it'll click one day for me and be like, wow, what was I thinking? So um so the last item I believed, or maybe I bought this. Yeah, I did. Okay, so that was the only That might have been the only thing I bought. I bought those two at Agarda. You know, of course, my wife got some stuff too, which maybe she'll show at some point or not. So then here's the stuff I just picked up. I kind of spread it out at Cheapo in Little Canada. I mean, did we even? I don't. We drove by. I didn't even bother. We drove by. We drove by Cheapo in St. Paul, which was then our sort of one of the three stores we typically would try to go to. And because it was so crowded, and we were just kind of apathetic about it because we were showing up later. There were still a lot of cars there. We decided not to, and we then went over to Agarda after that. We wanted to get something to eat also, and that was the thing. We went to Colossal Cafe, not in St. Paul. That would be mobbed, but it was in Como. Anyway, but before that whole thing at Little Canada Cheapo, I found a couple records, but again, not record store day items. They didn't have that much, but it was great because and we didn't show up right when they opened. We showed up maybe like 9 o'clock, 9:30, like an hour after they opened. There were like 15 people in there. I mean, you want people to show up. I'm sure throughout the day they got more business and stuff like that, more traffic, but it wasn't mobbed. That's the idea of record store day, some of it. So I got it would be the one, two, three, fourth album by Galactic Cowboys, and the second one with Wally Farkas after Dane Sonnier left. Which, by the way, their new record is going to be worked. You know, sadly, the drummer that joined from Atomic Opera passed away right after his drums were all done. But yeah, they've showed updates like a couple weeks ago and like video updates, and we're gonna get new Galactic Cowboys again this year. But this album's the horse that Bud bought from 1997. So I have the one before it, Machine Fish, and the EP, Feel the Rage. And I have the first album. I just don't have my favorite, Space in Your Face, and I don't have the two before their hiatus, but I have Long Way Back to the Moon. So I have like 60% of the records, like 4 out of 7 or whatever. But yeah, this is an orange vinyl. Among the Wally Farkas records, though, this always to me was the weakest. Although in truth, I'd probably listen to this more than the last record, Let It Go. But Let It Go is kind of more experimental. I always respected that, but I don't know why, because the record after it, I I got more into. I got more mileage out of. I think this is the album that has Tilt the World though. Um, and yes, Evil Twin. That's a banger, kind of pop banger. But here's the Gatefold. This just came out, I think, either earlier this year or last year, some point. But Media Slant. It has some songs I like. My Life, very 3 or 4 songs are very Beatles-ish. But I haven't listened to it. I didn't listen to it when I was going. I never did 1997. This was 97, so it came out the year after. See, like Machine Fish came out in 95, and then the year after. I saw them on this tour though, so um, kind of cool vinyl. C and D, the Galactic Cowboys artwork. So I'm hoping part of I think it's because Geffen has the rights. This was a Metal Blade release, so it was easier for them to get the rights to release this. Metal Blade was behind releasing on vinyl. I don't know if the first 2 records. I have a original pressing of the self-titled, but Space in Your Face. Someday I just long for that thing to finally come out. But yeah, so the horse that Bud bought, maybe the most. In some ways, they're most like the artwork sticks out the most to me. I don't know if it's the most iconic, but yeah. At the end of the day, I can't remember if that came out. They didn't have it there, but if I see it, I'll definitely get it. Let It Go. I actually they did have Let It Go, and so I may go back to Cheapo and see if they still have it. There's only a certain amount of people that know the Galactic Cowboys, even though they should have been much bigger than they were. So, but again, I appreciate the fact they're doing a comeback. They had one comeback back in 2017, 2018, Long Way Back to the Moon, and another new one, which I don't know if it's going to be called. A New Mission, maybe, but probably later this year. So, the other item on vinyl I picked up at Cheapo was another 10cc, which 99% certain I was trying to go through my videos when I was on my phone at Cheapo. The original soundtrack record from 10cc, which having listened to the records, and I still need to go like a marathon through their 70s stuff again. This is the one that has I'm Not in Love, though. So this is probably their most famous record among other studio albums because it has that song. But it has the one Une Nuit something sweet, which I remember really enjoying that. That is kind of proggy. I can't read that. Une ne a Pai, I think, or Paris. Let's see here. But yeah, this album, like even the quietest moments, may have come out in 70. No, this is 75, so it was a couple years before that. I've always felt like Supertramp, 10cc, and ELO should have done like either two or three of them should have done tours together because their styles, while not identical, really they have a lot of similar approaches to songwriting aesthetic with the pop element, the progressive element, experimental element, the art rock element. But this is a was it another Mercury pressing, like just like the Rush 20 All the World's a Stage, but yeah, the original soundtrack. So this is 75, so it wasn't their first record, but it was like their second or third record. But I don't know. I mean, at someday I'll probably be so familiar with the 10cc catalog. And I don't know if I'll ever get into Godly and Cream because that stuff is just more out there and avant-garde, experimental. But this jacket has all these records. Is that Aphrodite's Child record? Oh, that's kind of prog related itself. Uriah Heep. Show this quickly. Yeah, so it's like I can understand why. Some of the stuff that would appeal to the same people that would be buying 10cc records. I don't know if this is a first pressing again. Probably one of the pressings from the 70s though, because it would have stuff like that from the 70s. So, but yeah, the 10cc, the original soundtrack with I'm Not in Love, and that's sweet, and Flying Junk, Brand New Day, The Second Sitting for the Last Supper. I mean it's a kind of a black and white cover, but I kind of appreciate it. I have what was the one I got? The one with the phone, the How Dare You. I like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna become a super fan of 10cc, but they're definitely kind of raising in like the artists that I've discovered over the last 5-10 years. Really, I mean, I've known them for about a little over 15 years. But yeah, this is original pressing. It says on the sticker. So all right, so that was at Agarda as well. That was not a bad deal, the $10. So the only other thing I got at Cheapo was this. I saw this the last time at the little can of Cheapo. The bunch of the Tea Party CDs. Unfortunately, the ones I have been missing, there are only a couple. They didn't have any. They have a bunch of them. They have like Triptych and Edge of the Twilight, but they have this copy of the Interzone Zone Mantras, the album from like 2001. Their last sort of great record, the record after it, I never Drawing Circles or whatever. Was it Drawing Circles? Something like that. Wasn't nearly as good. It sounded very different, even for them. But I have a copy of this. Kind of, it's not a burn copy, but it's not a very like well put together printing of that compact disc already. But this night, if when I do my CDAs, you get to the T's, I'll show it. But this is cool because it has this like hieroglyphic, whatever this is, that thing that was on baseball cards with the images going back and forth. It's got that like not glossy, but the protective cover. But yeah, this is. I mean, it's among. I haven't done a video on the Tea Party, but among the Tea Party albums, this is maybe the most not talked about. It's not underrated because most the Tea Party fans like this album, but they don't talk about it nearly as much as Interzone. They don't talk about it as much as Splendor Solace and The Edge of the Twilight, or even the two records that followed The Edge of the Twilight. Cool Picture and everything like that. 2001, So I haven't gone back to this, and I never did the 2001 albums of the year, of course, but I did talk about this in the Empire list from 2001, though, I think. But yeah, cool cover, and I was like, I really should pick that up because I haven't seen that version. So, all right, so then I'll go on to the compact disc I got within the last really month and change. So I got right before it after I got this recently. Just I got it. I discovered him. I talked about this was it 2 weeks ago. Jake Allen. So I got basically his whole catalog except the newest record on CD because the vinyl available. So I have see the album that I'm probably is my favorite at this point, but I'm still kind of taking some of them in and going back and forth. The Affirmation Day from 2020. Got him signed. Still kind of in my honeymoon phase and kind of obsession with Jake Allen. 2025's biggest discovery. I don't know if I'll discover anyone as much. Haven't gone through the booklet though. It's like the drama and artwork. Title track is fantastic. Every song I like on here though. On the Run is super catchy. Textures, the dreamy elements, clear, rising tide. All the lyrics are in here. So, Michigan's own Jake Allen, Kevin Gilbert fan included. This is no bueno. These stacks of CDs, but so Um, Look at this picture right here. So, Affirmation Day. I was thinking of affirmation as like a thing you're doing for penance or something, but I don't know. The religious element for some of his music, I don't think it's that like Christian or religious that I can tell. But I got Deviant Motions, the previous record, which came out in, was it 2015, 2018 actually. Um, which is another one that has several tracks or bangers. My go-tos would be like at this point, A Dream That Lingers. I love that song. Bridges. If You Fall Apart. Just, I mean, the two are kind of splitting hairs. I'm not sure which one I like from day to day. There's a picture of him right there on the cover and have it signed. Um, but someday I'll probably be just longing for these records to all be on vinyl, of course. But a couple of them had been his records, but lyrics in the booklet, of course. I don't know if he references some of these musicians that I know he talked about in here. American Football, that was one of the bands he likes, which is they're post-hardcore, but they have like progressive elements. But I never, when I've heard them, I never got that into them. But I mean, I can understand why he would. I know Lorenzo from Alt Prog Core, who has gone on to like Jake Allen too, like me. But he's a big fan of American Football. But then Etherica, which was kind of in effect, it was in effect his debut from 2011, which the one that I still need to spend more time with, but there's a few tracks on here I love as well. The title track I believe was one of them, um, like a feather, Ascension. But I'm still kind of, this one I'm the least familiar, but it's interesting cover. I think his vocals are a little more raw, but oh geez, I don't want to ruin your CD. Um, yeah, it's easy because gravity isn't always my friend. Therica from 2011. Um, Signed. Interesting. Very contrast to the other two, which are really dark colored artwork, and this is um, white, obviously. Kind of like Fate's Warning's Darkness in a Different Light, which only came out a couple years later. Or like a Phenomena thing, like Brent Knopf, I could see like doing artwork almost like this. But so those are the three sort of proper, you could call them singer songwriter studio albums of his. I mean, I didn't look at the credits, but I may do a Jake Allen 2.0 um thing later. I don't know. So then I got the two EPs also. One of them was like thrown in with the deal I got. This whole thing wasn't, it was a bundled deal. So the Slee EP, and I haven't even listened to this yet. EP from, it was like 2009. This is his debut EP. So yeah, I'm not familiar with this yet. I've been meaning to. It's on my flash drive in my car, but I haven't listened to it yet. I don't know how this differs. If it's, yeah, you can tell this is more budget, but this is whatever it was, 15, 16, 15 years ago, 16 years ago. He's pretty young then. So still pretty decent. Production on this. From on the surface. Again, I haven't heard it, but and then this covers EP, which came out in 2015, so it came out between Therica and Therica and I'm spacing on the name. Devotion, deviant motions. Deviant, is it deviant motions? Deviant motions. Yeah. So I think it was 2015. Yeah. And this is all covers. So he does Eleanor Rigby from the Beatles, Ain't No Sunshine from Bill Withers, Saving from Gortia, Human Nature from Michael Jackson, and The Working Hour from Tears for Fears. He just wanted to put something out probably. And I've listened to some of this, most of it actually. The arrangements are a little different. Not necessarily exceptional, but they're pretty good. So you signed this, of course, too. So that's my Jake Allen collection. The new record that's all instrumental with that artist, someday I probably will get. It's just a matter of figuring it out. And that one came out on vinyl, I know. So then I'll just I showed these in a separate video and never uploaded it. I got a bunch of R's CDs. I got the R's vinyl. Did I show that? Maybe I didn't show that. Maybe I put it with R's and yes, I gotta pull that out right now real quickly. Yeah, I have a copy of the New Age Heroine, right? Oops. Yes, I forgot about that. And I also got the CDs. So New Age Heroin, which came with it, I got that last year, the New Age, the second version of it. And I actually got a second copy and another copy. So I have three copies. I may want to eventually give them away. The album that came out last year, in effect, which was a different version with different track lists from New Age Heroin from 2018, which I have right over there and on CD. Kind of an Ars Completus, but yeah, it's got the little cover. But it's got, You Are the Light, Across the Clouds, Get That Feeling are the two biggest favorites, and then Fly. Ring the Bell's great. Shine. A lot of the songs that were on that self-titled album from 2021, which, we took back digitally, which, of course, we got physical copies of. But those were just black. There was nothing real unique. Again, I did this video before. There are the labels. Um, So interesting. I have some R songs on two different vinyl releases. Yeah, it's a thick pressing though, but um why I have three copies. One was I got last year. One they sent out or something like that, or maybe I ordered it twice because I pre-ordered it, and then one came with this, like a second one. Had I known that I probably wouldn't have ordered it, but it's like between this and one I'm about to show on CD are like kind of a mixture of the EPs, and I talked about this, and the EPs that came out with the self-titled, with a few of the tracks from the original New Age Heroines. This whole run of releases from ours is like of the last six. Well, I guess you go back to New Age Heroin too. The last 7 years, you could just put them all together. It's like 7 releases. So yeah, but these three, I don't know if there's anything unique. I can't remember if there's anything unique with the CD. It's a gatefold. It's like the vinyl with Jimmy's picture, and then yeah, I mean it's the black, just like the design there. My hand's covering it up, but um, I have a bunch of RCDs, 3 or 4 copies, anyways. But that wasn't intentional. Um, so then I also got the R's EP. Now there's another R's release that came out a couple weeks ago. I want to get on CD because it's going to be limited. I don't know if they're ever release these on CDs again, but the New Age Heroin Encore. That's what it is. Which has a few of the tracks that were on the EPs that weren't on the New Age Heroin release that came out. So basically, then that thing never came out. The EPs were only digital, so it's good to have Media Age, then Kids, add to the BPM. Don't Want to Be a Star, and then this has Pain Aside, which on the original New Age Heroin of 2018, New Age Heroin 2 or whatever, was one of my favorites, like my probably second favorite song on that record. It's not on the new version. So, and then Across the Clouds acoustic mix on this Encore CD. So then the one that came out last year digitally, and then it's an official 2025 release. It's going to be on my albums of the year list. The Rockets Red Glare, which again has some songs that were on the self-titled from 2021. It's not available anymore, but and then a few songs from the EPs, I believe. Mostly songs from the self-titled though. Wounds of Love wasn't. Bells wasn't. More Money wasn't, I think. But I did that review. The video is up from last year. Don't Lose Yourself from the self-titled. See the Light. There's Love. I mean, I liked a lot of this. That review, I kind of talked about it. This in some ways is almost better than all these releases that have come out the last 7 years. In some ways, because it's kind of less is more. But the compact disc wasn't available until this year, so it was on just Bandcamp. I think they pulled it and they put it up again, and they issued the CD. So the last one I got is the Galactic Cowboy Orchestra, local Minnesota band, compact disc. Came out last year. I didn't know it came out in like October. It's like their sixth album, but I listened to it a couple times. I have it on my hard drive on the car. Top 3 records for my Minnesota local Minnesota. I only listened to like 3 records last year, along with The Kind City and 1 or 2 others. And there's a couple songs. There's songs with videos. Of course, they've been largely instrumental for a lot of their music. Galactic Cowboy Orchestra, newgrass, art rock, jazz fusion, lead violin, driven at times. But Lacey Wright does some vocals. John Wright, I don't know how much vocals he does, but there's a couple videos they did. One of them was for a single. I think it was called Righteous. Yeah. But it was okay. I'll be honest, their early records I think I like more, and I think Lato and Wright I'm more I'm more passionate about their music, even though I still want to support them. I still like them. The prog scene got sort of into Galactic Cardboard Orchestra. So, although I think this is they're just called Galactic Cardboard Orchestra, not the Galactic, because they've been titled as they've had the on their name at points. But so that's a collection update, I believe. I want to get back to the CD A to Z at some point, but I'm going to try to do the Tale of the Tape, Dream Theater versus Fate's Warning tomorrow if I can manage to do that. I'm doing that songs list, a couple songs lists. One inspired by the sort of mediocrity, unlistenability at points of the 89.3, the current 893 essential songs from the last 20 years. So I'm doing my 2005 to 2025 list. And I'm gonna. It was gonna be 20 because you can only vote for 20. I didn't vote, of course, in it. It had to be voting for songs that they only allowed you to that they played. It's really stupid. I mean, it's a lot of years. It's like tens, hundreds of thousands of songs potentially, but they're not going to have the stuff I most 85, 90, 95% of the music I would vote for are not in there. So I've come up with a list. I'm not done with it, but I'll probably put that up. And then that whole idea of like a desert island thing, I need to get back to friend from every debriefings. They were talking about their desert islands. They were talking about Josh mentioned was it Dredge and a couple others. So anyway, that's about it for now for the collection update. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.